I can't believe how strong I am! Incredible! Training in 100 times gravity has quadrupled my strength! I feel light as a feather and agile as a shark!
What's up, y'all? It's everybody's favorite Unk, and today we got another Kakarot.
Just imagine, if I keep training like this, I'll be the strongest in the universe!
That's right, we got another Kakarot. If you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, you already know we're gonna get about a bajillion of these every single year. But this one's pretty cool, man. This is the new Spec version of the Figurized Standard base Goku. Now, I have never really been a huge Figurized Standard guy. This is my 4th Figurized Standard kit. And I'm gonna be honest, once I invested in the Figure Arts line and kind of sort of shifted my Dragon Ball Z collecting over to SH Figure Arts in general, I kind of abandoned the idea of really getting any Figurized Standard model kits. But the fact that they upgraded the articulation on this one, and this one is supposed to be just a better version of the older ones, I wanted to see what it was about. So I went ahead and picked it up. I saw it at a local hobby store for 32 bucks, which isn't a bad price. $32 is actually very good for these model kits. So what I'm gonna do in today's video is a little bit different. We're gonna do a speed build, and then I'm just gonna kind of go over my thoughts about the model kit. So let's take a look at the MSRP though. I got mine for $32.99 at a hobby store near me. And it looks like that's the price you're probably gonna get them for if you do find him in a store. I didn't see too much fluctuation on the price. Looks like it's between anywhere from 27 to 40 bucks. And I think that's a pretty good price for this guy. But before we get into it, I do want to pose a question to everyone. I always like to kind of make this a little interactive for everybody watching at home. What is your favorite transformation of Goku? For me, my favorite Goku transformation is Super Saiyan 3. I enjoyed the Buu Saga very much so. And I think the Super Saiyan 3 transformation is just cool and badass looking, missing the eyebrows and all that stuff. So leave that in the comments below. What's your favorite version of Goku? All right, now before we get too far into the speed build, I just want to show you guys what you get when you open up this box. And you get 4 separate plastic bags with runners. You get instructions, but of course they're all in Japanese. And you do get your cool little like manual packet here thing, your pictures for putting it together. So let's go ahead and put this guy together and see what we got. You feel me? So if you guys noticed during the speed build, I actually didn't really complete the speed build. I ended up painting his boots because I wanted to get that Saiyan Raised on Earth, or that, you know, that early version of Goku from the Saiyan Saga look. My plan originally was to paint him Kaioken, but I tried it out on a blue Goku that I have from a Figurized Standard model kit, and it didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to, so I kind of abandoned that idea. I do know that the sash or his belt is not accurate to that version of Goku. I think eventually I will sculpt a belt piece to go on there to make it more accurate, but that's the cool thing about these model kits, is that you can kind of do what you want with them. They're not too expensive and they're very customizable. So as you can see on mine, I did do some panel lining with a brown Gundam marker. And like I said, I painted those boots as well. And yeah, man, honestly, there are some very apparent differences once you start to look at this thing, especially in comparison to the other Figurized Standard model kits. And just before we get started and talk about the articulation, because if you guys watch, you know I don't go over every single point of articulation, I just kind of put in some poses. But this one we might go a little bit more in depth. I do want to give you guys some size comparisons before we get to that. So here he is against the Super Saiyan Blue Figurized Standard Goku kit and against the Bardock. And he's shorter. He is actually kind of significantly shorter than the Bardock and the Super Saiyan Blue Figurized Standard kit. So I think that they kind of did that on purpose so you can fudge him in with other lines. And speaking of which, we're going to get him against some SH Figure Art stuff and see how he looks against those guys. So of course we have him up against the demoniacal fit tenacious martialist or the Ultra Instinct Goku. We have him up against the Dragon Ball superhero Goku, the CGI Goku, but I put that demoniacal fit Super Saiyan Blue head on him. And we also have him up against the Super Saiyan 4 Goku. And yeah, man, I think he actually scales really well to your SH figure art stuff. So if you don't have a base Saiyan Goku, it's not going to look too bad. He's a smidge bigger, but he does scale a lot better than the other figure art standard stuff, and I like that. So I hope that going forward, they do continue to make the rest of these new versions a little bit smaller. I think it'll encourage people to actually pick them up and use them to fudge into their collections. And then we also have him up against some other Gokus. We've got him up against Goku Rose. We've got him up against the Turles that just released. And we have him up against a custom Dragon Star Super Saiyan 3 Goku that I put together myself. And you can tell, man, he does. Like I said, he fudges very well with these characters and with the Dragon Star stuff. I think he probably fudges better with the Dragon Star stuff as they are scaled up a little bit bigger than SH Figure Arts. So yeah, man, I think that the scale on this is awesome. Like I said, I hope they keep that up because that's going to encourage a lot of people to get some of these newer versions. And, you know, hopefully they give us some different characters as well. So we're going to do a quick comparison with him directly against the Super Saiyan Blue Goku, which is the only other one that I have. And as you can tell, he is a lot taller than this one. Significantly, I would say, taller than this one. He's beefier and bigger than this one as well. And like I said, I'm not going to go over every point of articulation. So I'm going to show you guys just some clips of him in certain poses, and we'll go over some highlights as we take a look at some of these clips. The one thing that I do notice that's a big difference that you'll notice off bat in comparison to the original Figure Art Standards kits is the toe articulation. The toe articulation is there and it works fairly well. I was a little concerned with, you know, the plastic on these being that more hollow type of plastic, that it wasn't going to work too well, but that actually bodes in the favor of these figures because they're so light. So the toe articulation is actually pretty excellent on the new version. Now, at first glance, it doesn't seem like the butterfly joints are going to have as much range as the original versions, but the butterfly joints are just as good as the original, if not better, and they're not as ugly. So they look a lot better. That's one thing that they really did well with this new spec version is they hit some of that articulation a little bit better. It doesn't look as clunky and chunky. The drop down hips aren't as noticeable on this as they are on the old one. There's this really cool feature that they have where they have the chest piece and the neck piece as two separate pieces that also kind of crunch and move. There is no ab crunch, which is, you know, still just not good in my opinion. They still haven't figured out how to make the ab crunch work on these figures, which is a little disappointing. But you do have almost kind of that similar engineering that was on that SH Figure Arts Festering Fingerprint Vike figure, where the head and neck move back and forth to kind of give the illusion of a crunch. You obviously don't get anywhere near as much range on a Figure Arts standard version that you would on a Figure Arts one, but it works a little bit. Still really disappointing that there's no real torso or ab crunch articulation on these. I do like the way that they changed the hands and how they peg in. Instead of having the peg connected to the hands have the hole in them, so they peg into the wrists, and the wrists swivel very well. Everything feels tighter and just, you know, less fragile on this new version as well. The bicep swivel isn't one of those ones that just pops out like it did on those older ones. The bicep swivel stays intact very nicely, and I really appreciate that because it was really hard to sometimes kind of, you know, move around the arms on the older ones without that bicep swivel coming off. If you have any of the Figure Art standard kits, then you know how it is on those. Overall, it's definitely an upgrade in the articulation department. There's a few things that I wish that they would have done to truly make it an upgrade. The high kick is still non-existent. You can't do the traditional high kick at all, which is very frustrating because you would think with the new spec version of the articulation that it would be there, but it's not. I will say the ankle pivot is better. It is much better than on the original ones. So that's good because there's a lot of times where you'd pose some of those older ones and their feet wouldn't be touching the ground all the way, and it's really annoying where with that lighter plastic, you know, it's harder to get that to happen. And I do appreciate that on these is that the ankle pivot is a lot better. I do like the way that the crotch piece looks. It just looks more seamless. Everything is hidden well. I think outside of calling this a new spec version as far as articulation, really they need to coin it as the articulation is just hidden better. There aren't too many super obvious changes. The one thing that really sucks, you can't interchange parts from other Figure Art standard kits. And that was my plan because I have the Bardock kit. And if you have that Bardock kit, it comes with an extra torso that is shirtless. My plan was to kind of try to make a Kaioken Goku with that torso. but you cannot use those pieces because it's definitely engineered completely different in a lot of spots, especially when it comes to the torso and the arms. Oh, one more thing. The sleeves on this thing are done really cool. I like how they're connected to his arm, so the sleeves move with his arm as well, and it's just a lot more seamless than that original version. Like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with the Figurized standard kits, but I was really interested to pick this one up and to kind of, give it a whirl and see what the difference was, since I did have some of the older ones. And I can say overall, it's not too bad. I think it looks so much better than the older versions that you can call it new spec for that reason alone. So that's pretty cool. You do get a lot of range with the joints, so I'll give them that, but there's not anything super drastic to me that makes this one a real new version other than it just looks a whole lot better. Let's get into what you get with this guy. You do get some hands. You get the Kamehameha hands. You get the waving hand. You get the martial arts hands. And of course you get the classic instant transmission hand. You get 4 faces. You get the happy face. You get the yelling face. You get the teeth gritted face. And you also get the smirking face. That's the one that I have on him currently, so it's not pictured here. You also do get a stand with him. I didn't put the stand together because I have so many flight stands already, but I'm sure eventually I'll go ahead and throw that one together because you can never have enough stands. I am actually happy that they didn't include those kind of flimsy, fragile effect pieces. They were just really cheap and kind of uninspired. I mean, yes, they can be used to kind of elevate your displays in certain ways, but there's so many other options now for great effect pieces that the ones that came with these Figurized standard kits were just kind of obsolete, and I'm glad they decided to not include those. I do wish though, since they took that out, that maybe they added something else back into this kit, maybe like a power pole, maybe even like a Nimbus cloud. Like, I feel like a Nimbus cloud would not be something that would be that expensive to produce, especially in model kit form. It could just be 2 pieces just snapped together. So, something instead of those effect pieces would have been cool, but that's not a huge deal that they're missing because, like I said, this is a really, really good looking model kit. Just base, like without any panel lining or anything. It looks really good. So yeah, I think that's fine with the accessories. That's pretty much in line with what you would get with any other Figurized standard kit. Sans maybe the Piccolo that came with that extra Gohan head. So yeah, good job on those. And now final thoughts. So this is really weird because, like I said, I'm not really a model kit guy. I'm more of just a Dragon Ball Z guy. So I decided to pick this one up on a whim. There's a lot of positives. There's a few negatives. I think the negatives pretty much are the same as the older model kits. I think that cheaper plastic just gives it that hollow feel, which is kind of what you're in for whenever you do a model kit. So if you don't have a problem with that, if you're used to doing model kits, that's not going to bother you. I do think that there are a few things that I wish they would have improved because this is supposed to be a new and improved version. And I think that the high kick not being existent still sucks really bad. The ab crunch not being, an ab crunch or a torso crunch at all still sucks really bad. I think that them taking those crappy effect pieces out is good, but they should have put something else back in its stead. But, the positives definitely outweigh the negatives to me on this one. There is improved articulation in certain spots. The legs can do the splits very well. They have a lot of range. They just don't do a high kick. But like I said, if you had an ab crunch, that would help that. The butterfly joints are hidden very, very beautifully, and it doesn't look as clunky and awkward. The drop down hips are engineered in a way where it looks smooth and seamless. I think that they did a good job of re-engineering this thing to make it look better, but I don't think they did the best job of re-engineering it to get added articulation. But I will say, to begin with, for a model kit, these things have awesome articulation anyway, so that's not really a big knock. I also think that the price point is awesome. It's literally the same price as the old model kits, at least at the hobby store that I got this one at. This one was 32 bucks. I believe I paid 32 bucks for that Goku blue one a while back. I'll tell you, man, this one's not a bad pickup, especially if you're into model kits, especially if you're a Goku fan. It's just a nice, fun model kit to put together on a Sunday if you got nothing to do. They're not too difficult, and they're a lot of fun, and you can customize them any way you want. You can paint it up and make it a Goku clone, whatever you want to do. So I feel weird about giving this one a number grade because I don't really review model kits, but if I'm going to give it a number grade, I'm going to go with a solid 8. I think it's just fine, and I think it's good. But I do think there are a few things that they could do better if I'm being objective from a critical lens. I think that if they had made an ab crunch that actually works well, then that could have took this thing to another level because the Figurized standard kits were already fun to begin with. But if you guys have this one, what do you think of it? If you don't, are you going to be picking it up? Make sure to leave that in the comments below. Let me know if you liked the video, if you disliked the video. Do what I always tell you to do. Subscribe to the channel if you feel so inclined. If you don't feel so inclined, then don't do it. Tell a friend to dislike my video, whatever you want. But at the end of the day, just make sure that you have a wonderful day. And until next time, peace.